What are the skills behind the firewall today that we need? I don't think it's so much that there's a skill gap. I think, as we said, it's the strategy and vision that's allowing that gap to widen because we're not addressing it as a fundamental risk that requires us to remediate, right? We're saying, cloud, it's okay. We're paying people, we're transferring our risks, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, whoever. They'll manage it. They have people, right? All we have to do is click some buttons and for the most part, things work. How hard is it to click a button? Well, it's not easy to click the right button all the time and know what's going to happen when you do and link it to the other buttons, right, that you're clicking, regardless of what they tell you about automating. And so while we come up with really great stories, pretty pictures, and fancy sounding frameworks like DevOps and SecDevOps and continuous integration, continuous deployment, continuous this, whatever it is, the flavor of the day, we're not changing the fundamental arc of the vision we have to address. We're changing the words we use to describe what we think that story means. And it's okay to tell better and different stories as long as we can still understand how to address the fundamentals that allow us to be successful. I think the challenge we're seeing in organizations is that C-level executives continue to be stuck in the past, challenged by old assumptions about risk that are not fundamentally true on the ground. We're not going to be successful by simply protecting our network perimeter because our network perimeter is carried in the pocket of every worker that accesses your network anywhere in the world and is sitting in a coffee shop or sitting on the street in a car accessing wireless or is in a hotel lobby or 50,000 feet up in the air traveling at 700 miles an hour on a plane. And as a result, maybe not as much today, but in general, right, when we get back to normal, that's where it will be. And by the way, it's been that way for over a decade. We just haven't realized that. And as a result, unless we fundamentally change what it means to understand how to manage perimeter, this is where something like a zero trust architecture comes in, a zero trust framework, because I don't agree with the idea of it being an architecture, because it's not an architecture. It is a collection of best practices, principles, and workflows, right, that taken together yield our ability to understand how to change the dynamic of risk in the organization. But it's where a framework like zero trust becomes very valuable. And while it's great that NIST has finalized it, put it out, made it commonsensical, and formalized it, to be fair to NIST, they've done a lot of work, and all the people associated with that project done tremendous work to make it a reality, but they've simply codified and put into a sensical form common sense thoughts that have been around for decades, right? And we just haven't paid attention to them. That's the problem. And I think it's about getting our skilled workers, our frontline practitioners, the people that are going to be tactically executing, the right level of guidance and giving them a directive and a set of principles they have to go after in terms of that strategy and operationalizing it to come up with a one-size-fits-one solution within our organizations. That makes that skill gap disappear because now everybody has a job and they know where to go to do it and what to do. And those things will then take care of themselves. I often tell my customers, I don't need 150 people on your team to be skilled up to manage your cloud infrastructure. Neither do you. You need a plan to understand how to manage the risks associated with investing in the cloud. And once we figure out that plan, we'll find the appropriate people with the right skills in your organization. And if they're not there, we'll get them trained, but we'll then have a really solid playbook. And we'll assess that playbook ongoing, right, to make sure it aligns.
So do you think, so I like how you took my tactical question and flipped it strategic, which was great. And in how CIOs and business IT leaders, there's this shift between, you and I were both around during the outsourcing model in the, the late 80s, 90s. Everybody wanted to outsource this, outsource to China and all over the world and all sorts of places. And that was a big strategic shift. And now putting things that are strategically useful and helpful to develop speed. I just was talking to an insurance company just a couple of days ago, and they have all these partners that they've partnered with, and they're now making a strategic shift to pull a lot of that capability back in-house because they don't have speed, and they don't have speed to market. It's too much collision domains within the communication between different partners.